Baseball has always cherished its legends, those towering figures who dominated fields and lit up stadiums with their power, presence, and personality. But every so often, the game reveals someone who seems to come from another world, someone who doesn't fit the mold, yet bends the sport to his will. Tim Lincecum was one of those rare figures. He was slight, barely over 5'11", with the body of a college kid, more likely to blend into a crowd than command a pitcher's mound. Yet when he stepped into the light, when his strange, whiplash delivery uncoiled, the ball screamed from his hand with a ferocity that humbled even the greatest hitters. He was christened the Freak, not as ridicule, but as a reverent acknowledgement that there was simply nothing else like him. For a few dazzling years, he was not just one of the best pitchers in baseball. He was the most captivating show the game could offer. His rise was meteoric, his fall just as swift, and his legacy one of brilliance that burned so brightly it could never last. This is the story of Tim Lincecum, a comet across baseball's sky, unforgettable in his glory, mysterious in his silence. He was born Timothy Leroy Lincecum in Bellevue, Washington, in 1984, the second son of Chris and Rebecca. His father, Chris, had been a pitcher himself in his youth, and though he never made it to the professional ranks, he devoted himself to the study of pitching mechanics. When Tim was just a boy, Chris began to teach him a delivery unlike any other. It was violent and unorthodox, a motion that twisted Tim's small frame into improbable contortions before whipping the ball toward the plate. Neighbors would sometimes stop to watch as Chris tinkered with his son's mechanics in the backyard, using chalk lines, cones, and repetition to drill the movement into muscle memory. To outsiders, it looked strange, even dangerous. But to Chris and Tim, it was art. A design meant to squeeze every ounce of power from a frame that the scouts said was too small. As he grew, Tim's body never filled out like other athletes. Coaches doubted he could withstand the strain of a pitcher's life. But every time he took the mound, those doubts were silenced. In high school, he baffled hitters with velocity they never expected from such a slight figure. He moved on to the University of Washington, where he quickly became the ace of the Huskies staff. His numbers were staggering. Strikeouts piled up, hitters flailed helplessly, and fans began to whisper about the strange, wiry kid with the golden arm. By the time he finished his college career, he had set strikeout records and won the Golden Spikes Award, recognition as the nation's top amateur baseball player. Yet still, scouts questioned whether his body could survive professional baseball. The San Francisco Giants chose not to listen to the skeptics. With the 10th pick in the 2006 draft, they selected Lincecum, a decision that would soon change the course of the franchise. When he arrived in the majors the following spring, fans immediately recognized they were seeing something extraordinary. His debut was electric. His fastball blazed in the mid-90s. His changeup tumbled into nothingness, and his curveball seemed to fall off a cliff. And it wasn't just the results, it was the spectacle. His long hair flew from beneath his cap, his body coiled and snapped like a whip, and the ball arrived on hitters faster than their minds could process. In 2008, just his second full season, Lincecum dominated the National League. He struck out 265 batters and posted a 2.62 ERA, earning the Cy Young Award as the league's best pitcher. A year later, he did it again, securing back-to-back Cy Youngs before he turned 26. At his peak, he was as unhittable as any pitcher in the modern era. Batters described the sensation of facing him as disorienting. The fastball appeared to rise, the changeup arrived as though it had been dropped from the heavens, and his delivery made timing impossible. He was the pitcher every team dreaded, the pitcher every fan loved to watch. But his impact was about more than numbers. Lincecum gave San Francisco something it hadn't had in decades: hope. As Barry Bonds faded into retirement, the franchise needed a new face, and Tim with his shaggy hair and crooked smile, became the symbol of a new era. He was relatable, almost boyish, yet capable of feats that belonged to legends. The pinnacle came in October 2010. The Giants, riding a staff of brilliant arms, surged into the postseason. In his first playoff start, Lincecum struck out 14 Atlanta Braves in a complete game shutout, a performance that instantly entered postseason lore. Throughout that October, he was the anchor, guiding the Giants to their first World Series title since 1954. When the final out was recorded and the team erupted in celebration, it felt like San Francisco had finally claimed its place among champions. At the heart of it all was Tim Lincecum. For a time it seemed as though the glory would never fade. But baseball is cruel, and pitching is an unforgiving art. By 2012, the cracks began to show. His velocity dipped, his control wavered, and his dominance evaporated. That year, his ERA ballooned, and for the first time, he looked vulnerable. The Giants, however, surged once again to a championship. Lincecum accepted a reduced role, pitching in relief during the postseason and shining in spurts. It was a humbling transition, but it revealed his character. He was no longer the ace, but he was still willing to sacrifice for the team. Even as his career declined, flashes of brilliance reminded fans of what he had been. In July 2013, he threw his first no-hitter against the San Diego Padres, striking out 13 in a masterpiece that felt like a resurrection. Less than a year later, he did it again. Another no-hitter against the Padres, this time at home. Only a handful of pitchers in history have ever thrown multiple no-hitters, and Lincecum joined them, even as his overall numbers told the story of decline. Those games became cherished gifts, proof that even as the magic faded, it was not gone. But the descent could not be stopped. Injuries mounted, his hip deteriorated, and by 2015, he was no longer effective. In 2016, he attempted a comeback with the Los Angeles Angels. Fans hoped for one last miracle, one more glimpse of the brilliance that had once defined him. Instead, they saw a man whose body could no longer deliver what his mind still knew. His fastball lacked bite, his off-speed pitches fooled no one, and he was battered in start after start. The experiment ended quickly, and with it, so did his career. There was no farewell tour, no triumphant goodbye. Tim Lincecum simply disappeared from the game, just as suddenly as he had arrived. He retreated into privacy, avoiding the spotlight, leaving fans to wonder where he had gone and what he was doing. In an age when athletes share every detail of their lives on social media, his silence only deepened the mystery. For many, that silence became part of his legend. What he left behind, though, was indelible. In less than a decade, he won 2 Cy Young Awards, threw 2 no-hitters, struck out more than 1,700 batters, and helped deliver 3 World Series championships to San Francisco. More than that, he gave fans joy, awe, and wonder. He showed that greatness can come in unexpected packages, that size and convention are not the only paths to success. He was a reminder that baseball, at its best, is unpredictable, magical, and deeply human. Tim Lincecum's career is remembered not for its length, but for its brilliance. He was a comet, dazzling and fleeting, burning so brightly that no one could look away. He may never reach the Hall of Fame, his numbers may not secure him a place among the immortals of Cooperstown, but in the hearts of Giants fans, he is eternal. He was the ace who carried them to glory, the kid who defied the odds, the hero who disappeared before the world was ready to let him go. In the quiet that followed his departure, his legend only grew. Fans still tell the stories of the 14 strikeout playoff debut, of the no-hitters, of the October nights when he made hitters look lost. They remember the feeling of watching him, the electricity, the disbelief, the joy. And in those memories, Tim Lincecum lives on. Baseball has had its gods, its giants, its enduring legends, but none were quite like Tim Lincecum. He was the freak, the improbable ace, the fleeting star who gave everything he had until his body could give no more. And though he left without a word, he left behind something greater than statistics or accolades. He left behind wonder, proof that sometimes the smallest figure can cast the largest shadow. In the end, his story is not one of decline, but of beauty. He came, he conquered, and he vanished. Yet, in San Francisco, and in the hearts of those who love the game, his name is eternal. Tim Lincecum, the comet of baseball, shines still in memory, a reminder of how breathtaking the game can be when magic takes the mound.